Hey guys, welcome to an academy. So this is the editorial analysis for today. That is the 3rd of February 2017, and it is presented to you by me, Dipanshu Singh. So you can read more about me on this slide, and you can click on this link to follow me to get updates on my courses, on my videos, and get direct notifications on my uploads. And please rate and review the course and recommend each and every video, guys. So we have separated out this course for this month. So now you can rate and review the course, and let me know your suggestions and your feedback. So we'll be covering these articles. So 2 articles from the Hindu have been clubbed, and one from the Indian Express and Live Mint has been clubbed. One is regarding the H1B visa issue, and the other is on the political funding and the proposals in the budget regarding that. The other one is the first one is a season to repair relations. Talks about India-China relations. And the practice question for today is what do you think of the recent budget proposal, whether it would address the issue of corruption in politics in India? So critically comment on that on an Academy's Discuss page. So the first article talks about India's and China's relations. So the India and China relations have plummeted to a very low due to a lot of conflicting issues. It is a kind of a tense relationship, obviously due to some recent examples of the energy issue, Masood Azhar issue, then deployment of Chinese military and engineering assets in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, and the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor and the OBOR and the historical border disputes of Aksai Chin and Arunachal Pradesh between India and China. So the Chinese ambassador to India, Lu Zhahui, actually put forward some suggestions on improving the bilateral relations between the two countries. And this is a timely interventions because the relation between the two Asian giants have looked tired and worn out in recent months due to these issues. Apart from these issues, there are certain other issues which we'll look in detail in this editorial. So the first and the biggest one is that there is an absence of trust. Even though the border areas have remained mostly peaceful and conflict-free, the line of actual control continues to be subject of conflicting interpretations by both India and China. There have been numerous incidents where the Chinese and Indians have crossed the demarcated line because there is no clarity on the line of actual control. But then there hasn't been it hasn't culminated into a bigger conflict between India and China. It has generally remained peaceful, and some commentators have also suggested that there is a relook from Indian side on the Tibet policy of India, which has drawn a lot of irk from the Chinese media and Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Including the issues of prospective visit of Dalai Lama to Arunachal Pradesh, and his recent visit to Rashtrapati Bhavan sitting alongside President Pranab Mukherjee on a program in New Delhi. So the suggestions put forward by the Chinese ambassador are that to work between India and China is a friendship and a cooperation treaty. Apart from that, a free trade agreement to boost bilateral relations, and then he has invited India to join hands on China's One Belt One Road initiative. So if you look at analyzing his statements carefully, these statements are part of his effort of the Chinese establishment to review and relations with neighbors like India and other small and South Asian neighbors because of the growing uncertainty of the Donald Trump's administration, because he has given his clear signals that he does not he's not too favorable with China and his attitude, and he gave a phone call to Taiwanese president ignoring the one China policy of one nation policy of China, which irked the Chinese as well. And even the new Secretary of State has given disguised threats that against China on the dispute regarding South China Sea and building of artificial islands. And then Donald Trump also wishes to impose punitive tariffs on Chinese goods, which is affecting the US economy. If you look at the details, there are certain devils in the details. So 1954 Panchsheel Agreement basically tied up the status of Tibet, the relations between India and China. Apart from that, it also outlined the 5 principles of peaceful coexistence, that is also known as the Panchsheel Agreement. But then it did not do much to improving the ties between India and China, and it was almost dismantled because the later years went into conflict and the Indo-China War. And given the state of bilateral relations and the conflicting issues between the two nations, a treaty of friendship and cooperation is only a temporary suggestion of good intention, because it needs a transformative effort from both the sides on improving the relations. If you look at trade relation between two countries, it has generally been good. The trade between both the nation has generally been good, and it has an annual volume of $70 billion. India has also made an effort and a strong pitch for Chinese investment under the Make in India initiative and in infrastructure development, solar energy and renewables, and smart cities project. And this FTA is a forward-looking idea, but then it cannot be only looking into the goods related and goods-centric idea. It should cover goods and services. It should be comprehensive, and we're looking forward at cross-border investment, R&D, standards and disputes resolution, which will be worth exploring. Now, the other issue that plagues between the diplomatic cooperation between two countries is the issue of connectivity and poor connectivity. And India's stand is also not clear on OBOR and CPEC because on one hand they also are a member of AIIB, which is bolstering and supporting OBOR, and at the same time there are sovereignty issues of India and concerns of India regarding OBOR and CPEC regarding the ignorance of the sovereignty of India by China in Jammu Kashmir, despite of the provisions of the 1963 China-Pakistan boundary agreement, which conceded the disputed nature of the territory in the Gilgit-Baltistan region, through which the CPEC passes through, which is an important part and junction of the OBOR initiative. So these are the main reservations of India against these projects. And apart from that, there is a suggestion on improving the connectivity between the two nations. So there's a proposal of reviving Nathula Pass, the trade route between India and China, and setting up of a trade office in Lhasa in place of the old Consulate General that opened there until 1962. It was dismantled after the India-China war. And you can also look through the map where the Kashgar is the starting point of the CPEC and at the Gwadar port, very near to the Chabahar port of India and Iran. And if you look at Nathula Pass, very strategically located between India and in India and Sikkim, and it was the main road through which the transport of goods takes place between India and China through other world. Now, there's also a proposal of setting up and closing up ties, of opening up ties between India and Xinjiang region of China, and also providing air connectivity to Urumqi, which is the capital of the Xinjiang province of China. So it is very close to Jammu and Kashmir, and the common thread which connects between these two is that there is an existing threat of terrorist activities in these two states. There have been numerous instances of the Uyghur community, which is a Muslim-dominated community in this province of Xinjiang, involved in terrorist-related activities. And similarly, Kashmir is affected by terrorism. So these two countries have a common interest in curbing religious and radicalist terrorism in these provinces. To improve the relations, the new thinking is necessary. Apart from mutual confidence building measures, with tension reduction measures, and the border problem is obviously a very complex issue, and it will take time to resolve. But then it should not affect the relationship between the two nations, and they can work upon on other issues apart from the border-related issues, which can go hand in hand, and they can also work with other countries of the world like US, UK, and our ASEAN partners and the countries of South Asian region. This article basically is a summary of editorials on the H-1B visa issue. So while the H-1B visa issue had a lot of the recent proposal and the bill had a lot of issues which caused a lot of concern for Indians, but then there has been a proposal of a reformed bill on the H-1B which seeks to abolish 7% green card limit and also the abolition of present lottery system. So if you look at Indian IT firms have been among the top recipients of the 65,000 visas, and if the US plans to put more restrictions on this, this will obviously have a big impact on the Indian IT industry. But then India also does not need to be too much obsessed with the IT sector workforce, because this is an era of change, and any technological amendment like artificial intelligence, automation, telepresence, and augmented reality could lead IT sector to become obsolete. So therefore, India should actually work towards building their own skill set and skilled workforce, and create environment to have an accumulation of intellectual property. They should move from transporting IQ to IPR, and any negotiation with the USA would be of short-term benefit, because it is actually the Indian skill force which is actually helping and improving their US economy, because they lack the required skill force, and they are basically creating IPR at the cost of our own IQ. The brains and minds of Indians are they are the driving force behind the Silicon Valley and the rise of the US economy. So if you look at Japanese examples, in 1981 the Reagan administration actually forced the Japanese automobile industry to sign an agreement which limited their exports of automobiles, and it was actually supposed to help protect America's floundering automotive manufacturers. But it did not do much to help them, because the agreement actually gave an opportunity to Japan to reform their whole process, and it forced the Japanese companies to localize manufacturing. Thus, actually, this US import restriction enabled the Japanese automobile makers to transform themselves from manufacturing of cheap automobiles to competitive corporations that could actually hold their own ground in the US. So India can actually learn from these Japanese examples to transform their own IT sector, and India therefore should focus on its own entrepreneurial potential and potential intellectual property property that could have a disruptive effect on the global market. However, doing this is a challenge because it is seldom sufficient to drive transformation, because a lot of factors like mindset, culture, capabilities, incentives, budgeting process, and pressure of the delivery basically cause a lot of issues and all conspire to hobble the shift to the future. And generally, the larger and the more successful the company, the harder it is to make the change. An immigration issue, gives our policymakers a chance to rethink our future strategies so that the long-term and sustainable solutions can be sought rather than depending upon mercy of shocks and externalities like these. So we can also learn again from the American example that how they created intellectual property by investing on science, technology, engineering. So therefore, the focus of the Indian policymakers should be on changing from accommodating workforce to creating an intellectual prowess. So Make in India, Skill India can actually go a long way in improving this, and then obviously it gives an opportunity for Indian IT sector, Indian IT companies to transform themselves to become resilient to these kinds of external shocks. Now, this article is a summary of the editorials on political funding. So this budget actually introduced three important reforms regarding political funding. One was obviously reducing the cash limit from 20,000 to rupees 2,000. The other one was on the political and electoral bonds. And the third one is that it made mandatory for political parties to file returns within a time limit. So if you look at the political contribution, 75% to 80% of the political donations are donations below 20,000. Obviously, because the political parties do not require to show them in the account books to avail income tax exemptions, and this actually pave way for the generation of black money in political funding in electoral politics. So then the bringing this amount to rupees 2,000 will actually not do much will not bring much of a change and will not do good, because now more number of anonymous depositors are required as bits of black money, and it's actually not that difficult. They will transform the whole process by creating more fictitious political parties. In fact, there was a report recently where the Election Commission of India stated that a lot of political parties which were registered did not even contest elections once. So that is actually an example and proves that a lot of these political parties were created fake political parties, which were used to provide donations in the anonymous manner to bigger political parties. And then obviously there was a recent report by the Association of Democratic Reforms which mentioned that a lot of most of the political fundings to these political parties is anonymous. So the other issue is that the measure to issue electoral bonds from banks against check and digital payments to be given to registered political parties for redemptions, which is actually meant to cater to donors, need to maintain anonymous to rival political parties. So why to remain anonymous? Because these corporates want to be anonymous from the political opponents, so they will take these bonds to remain anonymous. So if we want to promote transparency, why to maintain anonymity? So basically now the corporate sector can buy these bonds under anonymity and bet on the winning horse. So because there's a lot of nepotism and crony capitalism which goes on. So a lot of these corporates contribute to political parties to get favorable policies in the budget, or get different types of benefits and pecuniary benefits from the ruling party. Now, the budget also makes mandatory, this is the third provision, for political parties to file returns within a particular time limit. But then this will also not go in long way unless you provide extreme penal provisions against for compliance. So if you do not take strict actions against these political parties who do not comply to these time limits of filing their returns, the compliance is likely to be very low. So then what can be done to weed out black money from the politics? The first is that the system should become transparent, and they should come under the purview of RTI Act, and they should honor the decision of the Central Information Commission of 2013. And instead of targeting donors and the general public, they should target political parties. They should put a certain cap on the amount of cash donations to be unaccounted from, and they should also move towards boosting the funding should be taken in the most of the funding should be taken in digital forms and digital transactions, because they're trying to push the common people to go cashless, but at the same time they're promoting among themselves, the political parties are promoting among themselves the need of cash donations under anonymity. So this is a dichotomy. And the last one is that they should give adequate powers to election commissions to recommend deregistration of political party upon non-compliance of transparency efforts. So these all measures if taken will go a long way in improving the electoral politics. And obviously there's an issue of simultaneous elections and the state funding of elections. So this is it for today's video, guys. I hope you liked the video. Do let me know your suggestions. So till next video, I hope you have a good day and thank you so much.